Thank you very much, Dr. Remy. Of course, permit me to recognize the Honorable Chief Secretary, Kelvin Charles, Dr. Maria Dillon Remy, Independent Senator, Councillor Nadine Stewart Phillips, Secretary of Tourism, Quality and Transportation, Mrs. Hazel Peterkin, Administrator in the Division of Tourism, Quality and Transportation, Dr. Gaston Fodringham, Chairman of Fodringham Development Company, and Mrs. Fodringham, Mr. Carlos Dillon, Chairman, Marizul Company Limited, and Mrs. Dillon, Mr. Chris James, President of the Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association, Stephen Shepard, CEO, THTI, other tourism stakeholders, members of the media, specially invited guests, and of course members of this distinguished community of Buccoo, and of course Pastor Nevin Lewis. I am seeing as well members of staff from my former place of employment, Republic Bank. It's good to see you. And let me start by saying it's a pleasure to be here this evening to witness the opening of this beautiful facility. And of course, as I look around, and not only the atmosphere, not only of course the view, the beautiful bay, and the many boats docked in the bay itself, but as we look at the quality of the building, as we look at the quality of the work, and I would have been privileged to a number of site visits, I think it was 2 or 3 site visits during the course of the construction of this facility. And I am very much impressed by what I have seen before, and indeed what I see here this evening in terms of the final product. And of course, I know Mr. Buccoo, Kelly Buccoo, would have played a part in terms of the construction process, and I believe we should give him a round of applause. But this evening for me is about reflection, because on this very spot, it used to be quite different many years ago. When I was 9 or 10 years old, thereabout, and in those days I would run away from home when my mom went to work and come down to the beach right on this jetty. As a matter of fact, it was here where I learned to swim, because you will run away and come down to the beach with my little mannish self, and the older guys in the village will throw you off the jetty, and you had to float, paddle, or sink. But of course, they wouldn't allow you to drown, so if you look like you got dead, they will take you out. Next day you come down, and although that happened to me, I would come down, of course, many times after that, until I eventually learned to swim. But just in the back there used to be a white lifeguard shed. For those who reside in this community and would frequent this community will remember that. Along this plot of land, there was a older blue building. I think blue was the color, if I remember clearly. There were also benches. There was also a fireside that the fishermen used to use to roast fish. And of course, I used to look forward to that. You roast the flying fish and you take it hot off the grill and you dip it in the salt water and you eat. So there's a lot of history behind this very spot. But I remember one particular day, I was at the beach right there. Not many people use the beach across on the other side, which is very popular now, by the way. But here was utilized for most of the bathing. And of course, you run away, so you keep glimpsing down on the walkway coming down just to make sure your mother or your father not coming looking for you. And there was this one occasion I spotted the distinct walk of my mother, Gloria Sandy Dennis. And at the side, of course, her hand was akimbo coming down the road, and you could see the belt swinging in her hand. But of course, a little and a smart, so while her teeth in my bed, I watching down there, and as I spot all the way down by where Candy Shop is. And I simply eased out of the water, put on my clothes quickly, ran across here when it was a vacant piece of land then, hit the hill, past Beryl Trim track, through Miss Delcinia track, all the way up by Mr. Rees, and I was home while she down at the beach. So those were good days. And of course, since then, Buccoo has transformed. And I am particularly proud because that transformation was not only brought to Buccoo by the Tobago House of Assembly. Because of course, back in the days when people wished to insult you, they would ask you if you went to Buccoo school. Because of course, Buccoo had no school. But now look at Buccoo. Buccoo has primary school, preschool, and maybe soon secondary school, I don't know. Buccoo has community center, health center, integrated facility utilized for boat racing, as a spot for vendors to do business. There's also a bar, and it's also the hub where Buccoo Sunday School takes place. Buccoo has improved and transformed significantly, and as a Buccoo boy, I am tremendously proud this evening. But also there was significant involvement from the NGOs, the churches, because I remember as a little boy growing up in the church, and that impacted on my life significantly. And of course, at one point in time, Mrs. Angelita Dillon Becker was a member of that church, Buccoo Jesus Life Worship Center. And of course, the village councils as well played their role in terms of shaping the lives of the individuals within this community. But here this evening we have what I consider to be, and I might be accurate when I describe it as, the largest capital investment by a private investor in the community of Buccoo. So we have a situation where the transformation and the development of this community was facilitated by partnership among, as I said before, the civil society, the NGOs, the CBOs, the churches, etc., the public sector in the form of the Tobago House of Assembly, and of course the private sector involvement of many established businesses within this community. And again, I am tremendously proud. But today is also about reflection and gratitude. Because as a member of this community, I am sincerely grateful for the contributions of the Dillon's family. Because of course, if you were to go back in history, there was a man by the name of Sullivan Dillon. I did not know him. I think he probably died before I was born. But it's a name that has registered in my mind coming up as a child, as somebody that contributed significantly to this community. And of course, he's known as one of the pioneers of what we know today as the Great Buccoo Reef. And I think today it's about recognizing the contribution of this particular man. And of course, his wife, Merilda is her name, known of course for her turtle pillau and her Kong sauce. And I believe we ought to give these individuals a hand of recognition. So the name of this facility, and I'm closing now, is Merci Buccoo, or Buccoo. Now, in French, Merci Buccoo means thank you, and you have to excuse my French. I dropped French since second form at Signal Hill Secondary Comprehensive School. But if I were to give this evening a theme in terms of my contribution, I would call it Buccoo et Tobago, Dis Merci, which means Buccoo and Tobago says thank you. Thank you, of course, to Sullivan Dillon and his wife for their contributions during their lifetime. And of course, thank you to them as well for their offspring who, of course, have vision, foresight, bright people, people of integrity, and people who are willing to put their money and invest it into this community of Buccoo, and they deserve a round of applause. So of course, to my good friend, Mr. Carlos Dillon, who represented Trinidad and Tobago in the area of tourism, locally and internationally, for more than 40 years, and I hope to live more than 40 years. And of course, he was awarded with the Hummingbird Medal Gold. Buccoo and Tobago says, thank you to you, sir. Well, let me use the French. Buccoo et Tobago, dis merci. I have it right, okay? And again, my other good friend, Angelita, who of course I developed a very good relationship with while working at the bank. When she would come to the bank and I was her favorite teller, she went to nobody else but me. And of course, she was a registered nurse, contributed significantly to the healthcare sector on this island. Of course, she worked as a family life educator in the school system for over 15 years. Buccoo and Tobago, Buccoo et Tobago, dis merci. I'm getting there. And of course, Winston, where's Winston? Who taught at both Bishop's High School and Signal Hill Secondary Comprehensive School for a number of years, contributed significantly to the education system on this island. Buccoo et Tobago, dis merci. Miriam, another teacher, taught at Bishop's High School and Scarborough Secondary School before migrating to the US. Buccoo and Tobago, we are also grateful for your contributions. Buccoo et Tobago, dis merci. And of course, Dr. Maria Delon-Remy. As a child, she attended to me. She was my pediatrician at one point in time, and she may not remember that. She functioned as a doctor for a number of years, both in private practice and of course in the Tobago Regional Health Authority. And today, because of those contributions and because of her astute capacity to lead, she was recently appointed as an independent senator and is now serving in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. Buccoo et Tobago, dis merci. And of course, Marilyn, another teacher, taught at Roxborough Secondary School and worked in the agricultural banking system. Tobago and the community of Buccoo, we again are grateful for your contributions, ma'am. But in closing, there's one thing that we ought to recognize, not only about this project, but about the posture of the Dillon's family. Because we ought to recognize that together we are stronger. And individually, we will never accomplish as much than if we function collectively or if we function as a team. And therefore, the kind of collaboration and the kind of partnership demonstrated by this family, not only in undertaking this venture, but how they have lived their lives, the kind of closeness and the kind of camaraderie as citizens and as siblings, I think that ought to serve as a lesson for all of us, that together we are stronger and collectively we can achieve significantly more than we will ever achieve as individuals. So once again, I am tremendously heartened to be a part of this exercise, and I look forward to utilizing this facility, not necessarily for a wedding because I don't intend to marry twice, but maybe to celebrate my 25th or 50th wedding anniversary. So once again, Buccoo et Tobago, dis merci. Thank you.